Hello everyone, my name is Yuko. This channel introduces things you should know about Japan and Japanese people for those who are interested in Japanese culture and customs and those who are thinking about traveling to Japan. I provide information unique to Japan, such as culture, food, art, lifestyle, and tourism. A friend contacted me at the end of last year. She invited me to go on a pilgrimage to the 7 lucky gods together in her hometown after the new year. It turned out to be a new pilgrimage, having only been around for about 10 years. The oldest pilgrimage is said to be 250 years old. I was intrigued by the idea of a new pilgrimage. The place is Totsuka in Kanagawa Prefecture. It is a historic place, being the 5th station from Tokyo on the Junior Tokaido Line and the 5th post town on the Tokaido 53 stations during the Edo period. What also interested me was this famous ukiyo-e by Utagawa Hiroshiga depicting the Totsuka post town. I wanted to see what the place depicted in this ukiyo-e looked like now. Since there is a bridge there, I don't think it will completely disappear, so I hope to be able to get a glimpse of what it was like back then. So, in this video, we'll be taking a pilgrimage to the 7 lucky gods in Totsuka, Kanagawa Prefecture, and visiting places featured in ukiyo-e prints. My friend was born in Totsuka and still lives there, and he studied local history in elementary and junior high school, so he offered to show me around, so I asked him to do so. There is a separate video about the 7 Lucky Gods tour, so please check that out for more detail. Touring the 7 Lucky Gods involves visiting the shrines and temples where each of the 7 gods is enshrined. The 7 Lucky Gods are Ebisu, the god of prosperity and business, Daikokuten, the god of agriculture, Bishamonten, the god who fights evil, Benzaiten, the goddess of beauty and the arts, Fukurakuju and Jurojin, the gods of wisdom and longevity, and Budai, the god of happiness. It is said that by praying for better luck at each of these places, you will receive 7 blessings and avoid 7 misfortunes. This time, I was given a list in advance, and since there are 2 Bishamonten statues, I will be visiting a total of 8 places. It is also unusual in that it is made up entirely of temples, with no shrines. The Yanaka 7 Lucky Gods in Ueno, Tokyo, are famous for being made up entirely of temples, but that area is said to be the result of the Edo shogunate's control of temples and shrines and urban development, which led to many temples congregating around Kaniiji Temple. I asked a friend why Totsuka is made up entirely of temples, as it is a famous historical location and there should be many shrines and temples there. However, she didn't know the answer, so I will proceed without digging too deep into that. Totsuka is a terminal station serving multiple lines including the Tokaido Line, Yokosuka Line, and subway, and is the 7th largest in Kanagawa Prefecture. I get off the station and meet up with a friend on the wide pedestrian deck. Although Totsuka is an old post town, redevelopment of the area around the station was completed about 10 years ago, and it seems that all of the old townscape has disappeared. We walk along the riverside footpath. The bridge comes into view. This is the bridge depicted in Utagawa Hiroshiga's ukiyo-e. I'll introduce this bridge in more detail later, so for now I'll skip it and keep walking. There was a Ichirizuka milepost along the way. We eventually arrived at our starting point, Hizoin Temple, after walking for about 20 minutes from the station. Here, we purchased a stamp rally sheet for 1,000 yen and got our first stamp. This is where Bishamonten is enshrined. Bishamonten is said to bring good fortune in terms of money, better luck, business prosperity, success in exams, good health and longevity, and protection from evil. After leaving Hizoin Temple, cross the traffic light and walk a short distance, you'll come to the remains of Edo Kata Mitsuki. The intersection is also called Edo Mitsuki Mei. Mitsuki refers to the entrance and exit to a post town. At Mitsuki, pine and maple trees were planted on both sides of the road, but only the pine trees on one side remain here. This procession was used when a feudal lord traveled on official business with his attendants. A typical example was when a feudal lord traveled between Edo and his domain during the Sankan Kotai system. The Sankan Kotai system was a key part of the Tokugawa shogunate's control over the daimyos. Daimyos had to live in Edo for a year and then return to their domains, a system known as alternate attendance. This is the Edo side entrance to Totsuka Juku. Daimyo on their way to Edo to attend alternate attendance would regroup here and be greeted by officials and the innkeeper of the day. When it comes to processions of feudal lords of large domains, the number of people involved can reach as many as 3,000. Totsuka Juku is the 5th post town from Nihonbashi, the starting point of the Tokaido, and is approximately 42 kilometers from Nihonbashi, making it the ideal first stop for travelers leaving Edo in the morning. Where there's an entrance, there must also be an exit. As we'll introduce later, the approximately 2.3 kilometer stretch sandwiched between the remains of 2 Mitsuki was a post town, and it seems to have been a very bustling area at the time. Next, it's about a 10-minute walk to the second temple, Myoshuji Temple. This temple enshrines Benzaiten. Benzaiten's blessings include improved financial luck and fortune, prosperity in business, improvement in the performing arts, and academic success. From here we stray far from the high road, so there's not much to introduce other than the temple. Once we're back on the high road, I'd like to introduce you to the post town of Totsuka. The third location was a little far away, so it took about 30 minutes to walk there. It was windy, but the day was clear and not too cold, so it was comfortable. The third place is Raigoji Temple. This temple enshrines Jurogen. Jurogen's blessings include longevity and family peace. The fourth temple is Unrinji Temple. This temple is dedicated to Ebisu. Ebisu's blessings include fishing, prosperous business, and bountiful harvests. The temple is also the name of Ebisu Station on the Junior Yamanote Line in Tokyo. The station retains its name because the Ebisu beer factory was located here. The fifth stop is Koshoji Temple. This temple enshrines Daikokuten. The blessings of Daikokuten include bountiful harvests, prosperous business, increased financial and wealth luck, better fortune, and matchmaking. The sixth stop is Saiganin Temple. Up until now, we've been to places far from Totsuka Station, but from here we'll head towards the downtown area near the station, the heart of the post town. Bishamonten is enshrined here. Bishamonten's blessings include financial luck, better fortune, prosperity in business, luck in passing exams, good health and longevity, and protection from evil. Bishamonten was also enshrined at our first stop, Hosoin Temple. The founder of Saiganin Temple was Tokugawa Ieyasu's concubine, Oman no Kata. Although she took the name Saiganin after her death, she received it while she was still alive, and the temple was built in 1620 as a memorial for Tokugawa Ieyasu. The temple itself dates back to the Kamakura period, around 400 years ago, and was restored after being abandoned. Another 400 years have passed since then. Saiganin Temple, Oman no Kata, visited Tokugawa Ieyasu in Sunpu, Shizuoka Prefecture, when he was critically ill. Ieyasu was so pleased that he bestowed upon Saiganin Temple, Oman no Kata, a statue of Amida Buddha, which remains the principal image of Saiganin Temple. This temple is very small, but it is permitted to display the Tokugawa family crest, the hollyhock crest. It is visible from the highway, and the three-leaf hollyhock crest is eye-catching on the roof and facade of the main hall. It is said that for this reason, daimyo processions would pay their respects by holding their spears horizontally, which they had been pointing towards the temple. In addition, a sign indicating dismounting was posted in front of the temple, prohibiting people from entering on horseback or in palanquins. The road leading to Saiganin Temple from the main street curves. Furthermore, if you go straight, this road curves again before exiting. Unnatural curves like this are usually the remains of a river, but there is no river nearby. The reason the entrance is curved is to hide it from view from the main street. So what was it hiding from view? It was the site of the Totsuka Pleasure Quarter, which once stood here. At the time, there was a large gate at the back. Of course, no buildings remain to give any indication of its origins. The only remaining remnants of an inn near the entrance appear to have been demolished during redevelopment. In 1863, towards the end of the Edo period, a double suicide occurred in Totsuka-juku. Yama, a 16-year-old prostitute at the Totsuka brothel, and Sezaburo, the 18-year-old son of a pharmacist, fell in love. Tormented by their forbidden love, the two committed suicide by throwing themselves into a well. A monument with a haiku poem inscribed on it stands on the grounds of Saiganin Temple to commemorate the couple. The haiku likens the couple who committed suicide to a pair of butterflies that die in the fall. As for their ages, they were measured by the traditional Japanese age system at the time, which would make Yama 14 or 15 years old and Sezaburo 16 or 17 years old in today's terms. Yama had likely been sold from a poor nearby farming village and was working while saddled with heavy debts. Given her age, she was still not yet ready to take on customers and was only an apprentice. The well may have been a place where the two met. I could only clasp my hands together, wondering how these two young people met, how they spent time together, and why they chose to commit suicide together. There's also a stone monument bearing a haiku by Matsuo Basho here. However, this haiku is a famous piece written in Oku no Hosomichi. The poem goes on to say that chestnut blossoms are plain and inconspicuous and no one in the world would even notice them, but the owner of the house has planted such a chestnut tree near the eaves and lives there in secret hiding. The poet composed this haiku when he visited a man named Kashin who lived in Fukushima Prefecture. Kashin was a monk and recluse living in a small hermitage. The poet composed this haiku, entrusting Cashin's sincere way of life, ignored by the world, to the quietly blooming chestnut flowers. By the way, there are 8 stone monuments bearing this haiku across the country, and this is one of them. Now that we're back on the Totsuka-juku Road, let me explain a bit more about it. Totsuka-juku was designated as an official post town in 1604, 3 years after the post station system was introduced on the Tokaido in 1601. Totsuka-juku is the 5th post town counting from Nihonbashi, the starting point. It is 42 kilometers from Nihonbashi. In those days, it was the perfect first stop for travelers leaving Edo in the morning. It consisted of 2 honjin inns, 3 waki honjin inns, and 75 hatago inns. Totsuka-juku was not only travelers' first day's destination, but it was also a junction with the road to Kamakura, so it was always bustling with people. Of the 9 post towns on the Tokaido in Kanagawa Prefecture, Totsuka-juku has the second most hatago inns after Odawara-juku. Of the 53 post towns on the Tokaido, Totsuka-juku had the 8th most hatago inns. The site of Uchida Honjin is now Totsuka Post Office. When the postal system was established in the Meiji era, the homes of influential people across the country were turned into post offices. In Totsuka, the Uchida family, who served as the honjin, were designated as post offices. After walking for a while, you will come to the site of a waki honjin, and just beyond that, the site of another honjin, Sawabe Honjin. There is a signpost and an explanatory plaque at the site of the honjin, and nearby is a monument marking the site of Emperor Meiji's Totsuka temporary residence. There are records that not only feudal lords but also Tokugawa Ieyasu and the 14th shogun, Tokugawa Iemochi, stayed here. The Sawabe family residence still remains behind the site, and if you turn down a narrow path to the side, you will find the quiet Haguro shrine at the end. This shrine actually has a very long history, and it once watched over the area as the guardian deity of Totsuka-juku. Founded in 1556, it was moved to its current location in 1881. There is currently a fire station next door. Haguro Shrine, founded in 1556. There are guardian lion dog statues on both sides of the worship hall. The komainu are placed here as talismans to ward off evil spirits. A pair of stone guardian dogs is placed at the entrance of the shrine. The creator of these guardian lion dogs is unknown, but they were created in 1938. One of the joys of visiting a shrine is seeing the guardian lion dogs. Of course, some shrines have foxes instead of lion dogs, but that's the same thing. On the other side of the road was a Toya bar, wholesale market. Kaizoan Temple, founded in 1363, this temple dates back to the Nanbokucho period. The dragon sculpture is said to be the work of Hidari Jingoro. Hidari Jingoro was a legendary sculptor active in the early Edo period. He is also said to have carved the sleeping cat statue at Nikko Toshogu Shrine. This is the main hall. Carved into the base of the lantern is the Sanrin-mon family crest of the Hojo clan, the regents of the Kamakura shogunate. The pattern on Agatsuma Zenitsu's Haori from Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, is an adaptation of the Uriko pattern, which is made up of intertwined triangles. The Uriko pattern is said to symbolize the scales of a dragon and is meant to represent borrowing the dragon's spiritual energy and power. This is where Budai is enshrined. He welcomes you with a big smile, a pot belly and a large bag on his back. Budai is the god who governs blessings such as good fortune, financial luck, fertility, marital harmony and safety in the home. Yasaka Shrine, founded in 1572. There are guardian lion dog statues on both sides of the worship hall. The creator of these guardian lion dogs is unknown, but they were created in 1938. The komainu at Haguro Shrine that we visited earlier was made in 1936, so there is only a 2-year difference. However, when comparing them, the styles are different, so it seems they are not by the same author. This is Yasaka Shrine depicted in an ukiyo-e. I took a photo of the same scene. A bulletin board called a kosatsuba can be seen in the background. The presence of a notice board means that this place was the center of the post town and the most bustling. On the left was a sign advertising an event called Ofudamaki. This is a traditional festival that has been held for over 300 years, in which men dress up in women's clothing and parade around throwing talismans, praying for protection from disease and the health of children. The presence of a notice board means that this was the center of the post town and its busiest period. The road to Kamakura also branches off here. There is a signpost from that time on the right-hand side of the intersection. It's hard to read, but it says Kamakura Road. It's about a 5-minute walk from Yasaka Shrine. Tomizuka Hachiman Shrine, founded in 1072. Guardian deity of Totsuka. This ancient shrine was founded during the Heian period. It is 500 years older than Yasaka Shrine. The mountain behind the shrine is home to an ancient tomb called Tomizuka, which is said to be the origin of the place name Totsuka. Since the shrine enshrines Emperor Ujin, the kanji for the 8 in Hachiman Shrine on the Torii Gate is a dove. Doves are said to be the messengers of Emperor Ujin. Within the temple grounds there is a monument bearing a haiku by Matsuo Basho. Bonito caught in Kamakura were transported alive along the Tokaido Road to Edo. The haiku describes the freshness of the first bonito caught in Kamakura. There are steep stairs leading up to the worship hall. The things to see here are the guardian lion dogs placed on both sides in front of the worship hall. They were made in 1841, making them 100 years older than the lion dogs at Yasaka Shrine that we saw earlier. The sculptor of these guardian lion dogs is known. They were made by Ijima Kichiraku, a famous Edo period stonemason. Ijima Kichiraku did not refer to a single person but was a name passed down from generation to generation like a kabuki actor. Records show that the first generation was in the mid-Edo period and the 11th generation was at the end of the Meiji period, at which point the records stop, but the family left behind numerous works over a period of roughly 180 years. The Ijima family led a group of stonemasons as masters and by 11 generations had created over 150 guardian lion dogs statues. Of these, the guardian lion dogs at Tomitsuka Hachiman Shrine are said to be their masterpiece. Even someone who is not an expert on guardian lion dogs is overwhelmed by their presence. The greatest benefit of my visit to Totsuka this time was being able to see these guardian lion dogs. They are in extremely good condition and a baby guardian lion dog is frolicking with the female and their innocent appearance is very soothing. Tenmangu Shrine stands next to the main shrine. Tenmangu Shrine enshrines Sugawara no Michizane Tenjin, who is considered the god of learning, and you can pray there for success in exams. Why is Tenmangu enshrined here? Well, at the end of the Edo period there was a private school here and it was apparently built in 1872 by students there to pray for academic success. Further back there is Tamamori Inari. This shrine is considered the god of good harvests and prosperous business. It's clear that Tomizuka Hachiman Shrine is an extremely important shrine to Totsuka. The approach to the shrine is quite steep, so it takes courage to get close, but once you make it to the top, it is a shrine with great benefits. The mountain behind the shrine is an ancient tomb and has been well maintained, so it is possible to climb up, but as we are in the middle of visiting the 7 lucky gods, we will turn back here. After passing Tomitsuka Hachiman Shrine and walking a short distance, you will come to the remains of Kamigata Mitsuki. Kyoto, where the emperor lived, was called Kamigata. This is the Kyoto entrance to Totsuka Juku. There are also remains of a Mitsuki on the opposite side of the road. We first introduced the Mitsuki on the Edo side and Totsuka Juku extends from here to here. Only pine trees were planted at Mitsuki on the Edo side, but here, just as they were back then, pine trees are planted on the left side facing Kyoto and maples on the right side. Shininji Temple, founded in 1319. This temple enshrines Fukurakuju. The blessings of Fukurakuju include prosperity of descendants, good fortune, and good health and longevity. This is the finish line of my pilgrimage to the 7 lucky gods. Being a woman, I walked slowly and made some detours, so it took about 3 hours, but I felt more satisfied than tired. I hope that this year will be a good one. To sum up, I usually do the pilgrimage to the 7 lucky gods within Tokyo, but after leaving Tokyo for the first time, I realized how much fun it is. Walking along the historic roads made me make many discoveries and encounters, and it makes me want to visit other post towns as well. As for my next stop, I'd like to go to Odawara-juku. I think I was able to go around the 7 lucky gods at a good pace at the beginning. However, once I returned to the highway, I found many historical sites from that time dotted the area, and as I visited shrines that are not included in the 7 lucky gods, the tour became increasingly dense. The reason the introduction to temples was lighter than the introduction to shrines is because I generally prefer shrines to temples. Temples are places where people are present. They are places where people practice. Shrines, by contrast, are places where gods reside. You can see this just by looking at the entrance. Temples have a gate at the entrance. These are gates for people to enter and exit. Shrines, on the other hand, have no gate, but a torii gate. Torii gates are barriers that separate the sacred realm from the secular world where humans live. And when you enter a shrine and pass through the torii gate, you enter the realm of the gods. The tranquil and dignified atmosphere is one in which you can truly feel the gods. The fact that this 7 Lucky Gods tour only includes temples and not shrines is probably just for human convenience. I also felt a kind of divine pride in the gods, who refused to curry favor with humans. I felt that Totsuka, protected by a magnificent shrine like Tomizuka Hachimangu, is a truly wonderful place. As I mentioned at the beginning, I plan to show you a video about places depicted in Utagawa Hiroshiga's Ukiyo-e prints in the second half of the video, but I will end this video here for now and show you another video.